Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle.
I'm Malika.
And we're both software engineers at Twilio on the messaging team. And a little bit about what we do. So we primarily focus on the messaging console. So whenever you log into twilio.com/console/SMS, all the stuff you see, that's us. And another thing that we're focusing on is improving the onboarding process for new and existing customers. And before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to Justin Peary and the product marketing team for helping us out identify how we can revamp this onboarding experience. So what do we mean by onboarding? When we say onboarding, we say the process from when a user first signs up on Twilio to when they become an active user. And so our goals today are to help you, our customers, be successful learning complex APIs such as Twilio and any other APIs. And additionally, we want you to be able to use our experience in creating this onboarding experience so that you can use it in your product. So let's travel back in time. If you went to Twilio.com and signed up for our SMS platform about 5 months ago, this is the screen that you would have seen. As you can see, it's pretty bare. We have 3 buttons. 1, get started. 2, read the tutorial docs. And 3, features and pricing. And since get started is highlighted, let's get started. So the first thing, we take you to this page here, which is our basics page. And so the first thing we ask you to do is buy a Twilio phone number, because you can't do anything using SMS without a phone number. So let's buy a phone number. And then the second thing we ask you to do is to send a message using that Twilio phone number to another phone number using this GUI here where you can send messages. And then the third thing that we ask you to do is to send a message to your Twilio phone number. And we give you the opportunity to reply to that message using TWIML, which is Twilio's markup language. And then the last thing that we do is we drop you in the docs so you can get more familiar with our API. And we realized that this wasn't really a good experience. We realized whenever users leave the console, they rarely come back. And then another thing that we realized was that this experience, there's many different use cases that people use for Twilio, and there's some that weren't there in that basics page. So say, for example, I own the hottest donut shop in San Francisco, right? And I want to use text marketing, and I want to market to other people and send text messages to other people that love donuts like me. But this basics page that you just saw, it didn't say anything about possibly buying a short code if I'm going to be sending a high volume of messages. So what we realized was that one size does not fit all. And so we have a couple support tickets. Shout out to Lauren as well for helping us out with the support tickets. But we had these support tickets, and we realized, here's one here, and someone's saying that they just want to send a simple SMS message, and they didn't know how to get started. The next message that we got was from a CTO, and he was told that he could have 3 trial numbers, but he only had 1. And I'm going to tell you all a little secret between you and I. You can only have 1 trial number on Twilio, but we'll talk about that later. And then the last thing, someone signed up for Twilio, and they were able to send messages, but they want the people on their non-technical team to also be able to send messages using some kind of console experience. So as I mentioned, one size does not fit all. And so we had to find out a way how to provide a tailored experience for our customers. We realized that Twilio customers, there's a broad spectrum ranging from people who are experienced developers to people who haven't written a line of code at all. However, we believe that regardless of your skill set, you should be able to get up and running on Twilio fast and hassle-free and be successful. So how do we define success at Twilio? We think of it as a magic funnel. So at the top, we have those who completed the sign-up. And then next, we look at who's used Twilio, first usage, so who's sent at least 1 SMS on our platform. And then the third thing that we look at in our funnel is product actives. So what we mean by product active is if someone has sent at least 10 SMS messages in a single day, then we consider them as a product active customer. And that's actually our earliest predictor of success on our platform. And then the last thing that we look at is product spend. And when we say product spend, we look at it on a monthly basis, ranging from $5 a month to $1,000 a month. So when you came to our Twilio website 5 months ago, we actually asked you, what are you building on top of Twilio? So we have these different use cases: account notifications, appointment reminders, and also, if you're just exploring, that's also a use case too. No use case is still a use case. And so we realized we weren't doing anything with this information on our end. Sales and marketing were looking at it to see what our high volume use cases were, but we personally weren't doing anything. So we figured, since we have this information, why not experiment with it and see if providing a use case onboarding experience would be better for our customers. And so the reason we wanted to do testing is because we want to avoid hippos. How many of y'all know what a hippo is? OK. So a hippo is the highest paid person opinion. And so we really didn't want this to just come from one voice. We wanted to create an onboarding experience that was backed up by numbers, by quantitative data. I mean, really, who wants this guy running your business and making all the product decisions? So now I'm going to pass it to Malika, and she's going to tell you more about the A/B testing and how we built this thing.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so as Scott has mentioned, I'm going to walk you through the different experiments that we ran, the tools that we used to run those experiments, and then how we analyze the results to make a better onboarding flow for our customers. So first of all, how many of you ever used any A/B testing tools? OK, so probably looks like a few. Probably most of you know that there are certain limitations when it comes to performing multi-session or multi-device experiments. And it's also especially hard to tie back the results of the experiments to your product-specific metrics. And these are the same exact problems that we faced when we started looking into A/B testing tools. For instance, our first experiment, we had to rely on the third-party cookie provided from A/B testing tool and to bucket our users into different cohorts. And what we realized that interfacing with the API and solely relying on that was a little bit too complicated to set up a simple experiment, but most importantly, get the results that are specific to the Twilio metrics. So as a result, we thought, why not build an internal API that would solve these problems? So our console experimentation team built an experimentation API called Geronimo. And Geronimo sits on top of A/B testing tool called Split that allows us to set up and run experiments in a logged flow that allows us to simulate those experiments in multiple devices. So this is great because having that multi-device and multi-session support allows us to get intelligent and data-driven decisions that are tied specifically to Twilio metrics. Especially, it's important when in terms of calculating the conversion rate. And by that, we mean the time it takes for the customer to sign up on Twilio and become successful on the platform. So once we got Geronimo API, the very first thing we had to do is to utilize this API with our onboarding flow. The screenshot that you see here is the Scala code snippet of the high-level onboarding flow, how we use the Geronimo service in our API. So what we had to do, we had to set up the experiment ID, the test and control content, and then we had to make a request to Geronimo API, passing the experiment ID as well as the account ID to figure out what cohort the account belongs to, whether it's test or control. Once we got the results from Geronimo, we would navigate the users to the appropriate view. Seems pretty straightforward. Just a few lines of code was able to give us the smooth experiment setup. So once we integrated Geronimo with our service, we started running our experiments. And the very first MVP that we had that was pretty easy, straightforward to implement was just sending the copy of email to our customers upon their sign up. And the email that you see here is the screenshot of a step-by-step guide for appointment reminders use case that the customers received upon their sign up. It was pretty quick to implement and it brought quicker results, which is why the next thing that we built was the first version of appointment reminders use case. And the reason why we picked that particular use case was because it's our high volume use case that would bring us better results for running different experiments. We tested this page against basics, which Kyle has already mentioned, proved the fail hypothesis that one size fits all. However, unlike the basics page, appointment reminders use case did not have the GUI to buy your first number or send your first message, but what it did have was the image illustrating the high-level overview of the appointment reminders product, as well as detailed sections how to set up your dev environment and build SMS product using appointment reminders use case. The results of this experiment proved our intuition that a targeted page does better than one size fits all. In particular, even though the first usage, such as like sending your first API call or buying a phone number, has decreased, this page brought 28% of product active improvement for our new customers. But most importantly, our customers were making fewer mistakes when it came to API errors, and as a result, the number of support tickets has decreased related to the onboarding data. So we took the results and we decided to build the next version of appointment reminders use case. And this time we added the GUI that was missing in the first version, such as API Explorer widget allowing you to send the first message, and as well as the information that shows what are the limitations that you have when you are in a trial account state. So the results of that experiment brought another 2% of increase, making a total of 30 of improvement product active. And another thing that we heard from our customers was that they were not aware that they got a free credit upon sign up, and having that trial account information helped them a lot to get a better insight into their trial state. They were also able to send a message quicker and get the better approach of how to build a particular use case. So having all that, like after setting and running all these different experiments, we took the qualitative and quantitative data and spec'd up a new version of Onboarding Flow for our SMS customers using the following stack. So first, we had to come up with the destination. So each use case, as you can see, had its own route mapped to the particular view, and it was built in React as a single-page application using React Router. That way, you load the application once, and then you can change the content dynamically, allowing for better performance. Another advantage that React Router gave us was by having the drop-down on the onboarding page with a list of different use cases, the customers were able to not only view the use case that they selected, but also browse through different ones that Twilio supports and imagine what else they can build with Twilio. The page would still remain RESTful, allowing them to link to it externally and internally, as well as navigate back and forth. So once we built a destination, we started working on navigating the customers to the use case specific page once they sign up with Twilio. And the way we did it was with use case routing. So here in the first code snippet, you see a list of all of the routes specific to each use case in our sign up redirection logic, which lives in PHP. But then we had to use that data in another service that provides the onboarding related data. In the code snippet showed below, we have a set of supported use cases, and then we make a check. If the use case was supported, that the customers would be navigated to the use case specific page that they have selected upon sign up. Otherwise, they would see the generic version, as Kyle has mentioned earlier, just exploring. So having all these different types of use cases, it would have taken us a while to build them all, as each of them contained 5 to 6 sections. So what we did was, most of the Twilio console built in React, as well as the onboarding flow. And that allowed us to modularize the different components that are shared across all use cases, such as get started with Twilio, set up your dev environment, or you send your first message. And that way, we use those libraries across all the use cases. That drastically decreased the development effort when building new onboarding pages. For instance, when we first started building the first use case, it took us a few days to ship it to production. Unlike with the reusable components, it was a matter of an hour. Now, with all that, we have a coverage of 11 use cases total available to our customers. So let's quickly review how the onboarding flow looks right now, since we got all the pieces together. But this is a quick reminder how it used to look like, and this is a quick demo of how it looks right now. So you sign up, you go to Twilio, you create your account with SMS or any use case that you like, let's say text marketing. You verify your account, and now you land on the text marketing specific landing page where you see your trial account information, you have to purchase a number to make your first API call. And once the phone number is purchased, the page will reload with the API Explorer widget, allowing you to send your first message. So let's say you send your message, you verify whether or not you have received it, and now you navigate it to the text marketing specific step-by-step guide of how to build a text marketing related product. In case if you're wondering like what else you can build, then you can change the use case that you're interested in. So having said that, I'm going to hand it over to Kyle, who's going to wrap everything up.
Thank you, Malika. So what did we learn from this? What we really learned was that our customers really appreciate this use case universe that we provided them. It allowed them to get up and running quicker on Twilio because they knew exactly what they wanted to build. And it proved wrong our hypothesis that one size fits all. Additionally, coming out of this, we were able to reduce development effort significantly, as Malika said, by componentizing a lot of our steps. We currently support 11 use case guides, and each of those use case guides has at least 5 steps. So that's about 55 components there. And so by componentizing these steps, we were able to turn something that was originally like a 5-point story in our sprint, turn that into a 1-story point because we were just able to reuse those components. And then lastly, we were able to have fewer onboarding mistakes, which translate into less API errors and less support tickets related to onboarding for our support team. And by doing that, we were able to reduce our costs and also increase our revenue. Now, Malika is going to tell you what you can expect next around onboarding and in the messaging console.
Yeah, so the way we're planning to improve the onboarding flow in the nearest future is by making sure that the customers have better understanding of how they can scale each particular use case that they have in mind. Let's say, like, for instance, for use cases like text marketing, we want to make sure that they have tutorials to Copilot or the user shortcodes and things like that. Another thing is, like, we want to make sure to reduce the number of external links that we have currently in console. As Kyle has mentioned, like, as soon as the customers are navigated away from console, they get lost. And since we don't store that the user's state there, it's hard for them to keep moving and building more stuff. Last but not least, we're planning to add more use case coverage to SMS and keep experimenting with the routing to make sure it's getting better and better. That being said, by putting our feet in our customers' shoes, we were able to create a more robust onboarding flow. But most importantly, we helped our customers to get up and running with Twilio quicker, regardless of their technical background, which is really important. So thank you for listening. I'm Malika.
I'm Kyle. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us in the back. Thank you.